Hello, everyone. My name is Susan Damiani, and I am the Director of Gift Planning at St. John's University. I also have the honor of being the Director of the McAllen Society, which is our legacy society. And today, our hello is from Astoria, Queens, New York. I actually was born in that town, so I'm very fond of Astoria. And I have the pleasure of having Donna Furey, who is an alumna of the St. John's Law School. She graduated in 2001. Hi, Donna. How are you doing?
Hello, Susan. Hello, everyone out there.
It's nice. Thanks for joining us for this. The reason why I selected Donna as to join me for my hello for our electronic newsletter is because the upcoming week is National Estate Planning Awareness Week. And Donna is a respectable trust and estate attorney. And I just wanted to ask her a couple of questions and encourage all of you, if some of you haven't updated your plans or you don't even have a will, it's important. And especially, within, the pandemic, I'm sure you're very busy these days, Donna. Are you, with making plans for everyone?
Yes, I have to. A lot of people are really conscious about making their plans now because they're nervous. And a lot of people have passed on who didn't have wills, and now we have a lot more work to do when people don't have wills in place.
Oh, I'm sure. It's funny though. I'm reading an estimated 56% of the population have not even updated their plan. I don't even know what the percentage is. I'm sure it's just as high with people who don't even have wills. Why is it so important to put your estate plans in order?
Well, I think that most people want to make sure that all that they've accumulated during their lifetime, they worked very hard for it. You want to make sure it gets to the right people. It's always good to have beneficiaries on your assets, but having a will kind of solidifies this is exactly what I want done. So even though you have the beneficiaries, you want to make sure that it goes to the people that you or organizations that you would like to see have your assets.
Like St. John's.
But of course.
I had to say that I'm director of gift planning. But, sometimes I hear, over the years, I've been at St. John's for 16 years as director of gift planning. And I do hear a lot, oh, I don't have to worry. I'm not very rich. My kids, they'll take care of, the plans for me. I'll be dead. I don't have to worry. And I will say, I will share, a personal story. Right before my dad passed away, he had cancer. And because of the nature of my work, I was constantly sitting down and trying to find the right time to talk about this. Because obviously, if someone is ill, the last thing they want to talk about is their demise. So we, once in a while, would have this conversation, and he would say, "Don't worry, everything is in order." But when I wanted the details, he never would go through that with me. And I remember turning to my mother one day and I'm like, what he just said, we're sunk, because I know he doesn't have it all in order. He thinks he does, but it's just because somebody doesn't really want to, talk about it. And especially when people are ill, the last thing they want to do is start putting their estate plans together. So that's why we always have our estate planning seminars. You've always participated as a panelist, because to tell people, do it now while you're well, while you're able, because the last thing you want to do is when you're in a hospital bed and you're sick and you have to call an estate attorney and put this all together. Have you seen those scenarios at all?
I had that.
Really?
Who's going in for surgery. She didn't do any planning and had some assets that she wanted to make sure went where she wanted them to go. And and she said that when I sent her the draft documents, she couldn't wrap her mind around a lot of it because she was worried more about her surgery. So,
of course.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't get to do fun stuff sometimes because talking about these things is difficult. Many people, just from their cultural, they don't like to discuss death and things like that.
Exactly.
So, this is not unusual, but I think, what's important is that people do. Even my own father, I think when I had to talk to my dad, just trying to get him to do a power of attorney and a healthcare proxy, it took me 3 years to get him to actually.
I believe
And,
it.
you know, here I am, I'm an elder law attorney, state attorney. So it can happen to anybody. And I think a lot of people procrastinate, and I see it all the time, definitely, all the time.
Yeah. And what about, I mean, I see a lot, even, I have a situation where someone was leaving St. John's money in their will, you know, a bequest. And there was, you know, conflicts within the family. And I actually got a letter from the nephew. And I kid you not, are you ready for this? And I think he was an attorney. He said, I deserve to get something from my aunt's will because I used to send her a greeting card every year. And he felt that he was slighted and he wasn't in the will because he would send her a greeting card every year. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I read that. So, you know, the other thing is the infighting within relatives and stuff. Would a will accomplish that? Kind of limit that in a way?
A will will help, definitely.
Mm,
And you have to remember that a will has to be done when you're mentally competent to do it. So, you know, doing it sooner versus later when you might start to lose your memory and things like that. And if you change your mind at that time, it's easier to challenge the will.
right.
An older will sometimes is going to be great because, you know, you assume when someone is in their 50s or 60s that they know what they're doing and they're, you know, they can make good decisions and they know what they want. Whereas if it's done when you're 93 years old and, you know, there's a better chance of challenging it. There's only a couple of grounds that you can challenge on, but you know, there's always an attorney willing to take the case when it comes to these kind of cases, and just so the person's just trying to get a little bit of something. And you know, I'm sure the other person who passed away is rolling around in their grave because it's horrible that, you know, people fight over money, but it happens every day.
So what happens if you die and you don't have a will?
Then the laws of the state of New York are going to step in and take over on who is going to receive the assets from your estate. And so basically, when it comes to husband and wife and children, your spouse only gets the first 50,000 and half the assets. So that alone is a reason why you want to make sure that you have some, I call them sweetheart wills, so that you make sure everything goes to the spouse, and you know, then the kids get it afterwards, so that there's no questions about it. And you know, so if you don't have any family or any children and you don't have siblings, it gets a lot harder because then it'll actually go to the cousin class. So your cousins can inherit from you. And you might have never have seen those cousins in a million years, and they're going to get your assets. So again,
I have 31st cousins. That's my situation.
like
So,
30, yeah.
the attorney, I'm going to keep them very busy. But you mentioned then revocable trusts is something to consider.
Yeah, so someone who has doesn't have any idea of who their relatives are. When do I see this often is when it's an only child, the parents aren't here, the parents were also only children, or the parents came over from Europe or anywhere, and they have no idea who the family is. In a case like that, you might want to think about a revocable trust so that everything goes smoothly and we don't have to try to find those relatives. Because what the court requires when I petition the court to actually bring a will to court, which is called probate, or if I have to do administration, which is when I have no will, then I have to tell the court in either situation who the blood relatives are who would be entitled if it wasn't for this will. So that's why I'm saying in a situation like that where we have no clue, it could take years to get the whole estate dealt with. So.
Oh, I know. We've had experience. We've seen wills, bequests at the university where, we've worked on these bequests with the estate attorneys for years because of that. And again, poor planning, was the reason for all of it. And what about, there's a lot of couples and families that have children with special needs. Isn't that another reason to do proper planning?
That is definitely another reason to do it. You can set up supplemental needs trust for them in your wills, or you can do that in advance. So the idea is that you can still control the asset, make sure they get taken care of, and then when they're gone too, it can still go to your other family members. If you don't do that, then there's different kinds of supplemental needs trust. If it goes straight out to the person, then the government's going to get their hands on it at the end of the day. So most of the time you want to try to control that situation.
Of course.
So, yeah.
And what about, I know, I don't even want to bring it up about the election, everybody's like waiting. So if someone's thinking, you know what, Donna, you really convinced me, I really should sit down with someone and talk about my estate plans. Should they be waiting after the election? And does the election have any effect on, the tax rates and all of that?
It's very possible that the election would have an impact on the federal tax rates. New York State right now, the estate tax is $5,850,000 per person. So honestly, and so that's per person. A married couple, you're looking at 11 million. So most people don't have that kind of money. So basically, and the federal is like 580,000 per person. So depending on who comes into office, if it's a Republican stays in office, then chances are we're going to keep that 11 million. If a Democrat comes in, we might go back to lower rates, and then the lower rates could bring it back down to 5 million. So you have to look at how much assets, and some people don't even realize how many assets they have and what the value of those assets could be. And so that's why you want to do planning so that you never have to pay taxes. I mean, but again, if you're in those higher brackets, you really need to get a plan in place because there's a lot of different things that you can do to, again, avoid those taxes. Because who wants to pay taxes if you don't have to?
Oh, definitely. And I'm going to get a little commercial in for you and John Separano. Join us for our Power Hour Tuesday, November 17th, where Donna and John will be talking about tax planning. And it'll be after the election and right before, year end. So I encourage everyone to join us for that segment. And I thank you for helping us with that. So just one last piece. Obviously, I'm the director of gift planning. I encourage our alumni all the time to think about establishing your legacy, especially at St. John's University. I know over the years, I see many advisors sometimes not bringing up the charitable planning component. What's your thoughts about that and how important it is to be part of the estate plan?
I think everyone had their own version of giving to others. And I think, the Vincentian way from St. John's is that we try to help each other out.
Right.
And if you can do that, that's a beautiful thing. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. And usually by giving to charity, it brings down the value of your estate for tax purposes. So it's it's a benefit. So you could put a clause in your will that says, hey, if I'm going over the tax limit, then I want that money that's going over the limit to go to a charity so that then I'm below the limit, no taxes. That's called, I call it the Santa Claus. So there's other ways. You can always name who you want. I think charitable giving, obviously is a wonderful thing. And I think it helps everyone. And even if you can just do a little bit goes a long way.
Oh, you couldn't say it better. It's a good way of closing. Thanks, Donna. I want to thank you for joining us. Everybody, next week, you'll see more information and you'll see some information in our electronic newsletter about National Estate Planning Awareness Week. Thank you again, and definitely join our Power Hour on November 17th. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Donna. Bye-bye.